overkill for people. I don't want people to feel like,
Yep.
Just overkill. So.
And we are live, and there's the.
And twice you've caught me right now.
Well, and for the audience, we're talking about there's so much content, there's so much stuff, and we were just talking about how we try and condense that as best we can to sit within our 30-minute window. Yeah. It's been mission creep, right? It was 20 originally, and now we're like, okay, it's 30. That's our window.
Yeah, forget it. And it's true, right? And yeah, sorry about that. You're gonna have to watch the clock today, Lenny, because I'm clearly not paying attention to the clock today. There's something going on in my brain.
It's Friday for a long weekend, I get it. So we'll keep an eye on track.
I was talking to 2 of our team members who are overseas, and I was explaining that Monday most of us will not be working. And he said, how do you celebrate Memorial Day? And I was like, well, oddly, I think almost everybody in our country barbecues. Like it's like that's pretty much, this is the start of real barbecue season. And Ashley was on the call, and I said, Ashley, what will you be doing? She's like, yeah, barbecuing. So,
I'll be barbecuing. My brother and his wife are coming through. We're be going tomorrow to the butcher to get good stuff. So
to get the stuff. I said, yes, apparently honoring people who gave up their lives for us, which we will mindfully think about all weekend and be grateful. And to those of you who lost people, due to service, our hearts and thoughts will be with those people that we have lost, but also we'll be barbecuing. So it seems to be this dichotomy of like super celebratory, really fun day off, and also a real serious holiday. Like
absolutely, and thank them for their service, the ultimate sacrifice. So,
yes. So that's that. So happy Memorial Day weekend, everybody. And we hope you all have a really great weekend. And also we do want to shout this out. Lenny, when you shared what Andrew Cannon and Debbie Schlesinger are up to with their fundraiser, I was like, well, that makes sense because May has been Mental Health Awareness Month. So it's all a perfect time to be talking about this. And for those of you who know them and know their Year of Joy initiative, saw them, they were at IAX North America last year. We've had them on the podcast. They've written for us. But Lenny, why don't you tell them about the fundraiser?
Yeah. Okay. But you're doing a great job. But
I know, but I'm talking about
the Year of Joy. They're trying to raise $10,000 because they created a game called the EQ Joy card game, which I actually have one of these.
I was going to say, didn't Debbie sent you one? I never got one.
Debbie sent me one. I don't know exactly where it is right this minute, but so they want to produce these and distribute it to schools, et cetera, et cetera. That's the goal. Costs money to produce it, so they're trying to raise $10,000, and they'll distribute to their charity partners, include Bring Hope, Boys Town, Girls on the Run, and Wings for Kids. So if you can, good cause. It's a really cool initiative just to help with mental health. As we all know, it's since 2020 particularly. Kids have really had some real hits on that front. It has been a challenge. So please donate. It's a great cause. We support them 100%. And the link is there.
Yeah, perfect. Good. Yep. Good. Well, and I mean, let's segue. Speaking of mental health, shall we talk about the mental health of the industry at the moment with the big news that came out this week? Because there's a lot of chatter and a lot of people can't make sense of what's going on with Dynata. And I feel somewhat of a responsibility to talk about it, even though we started talking about it last week. Let's continue the conversation, Lenny, and make sure that those who are listening who may have some angst about what happened, make sure that they understand the full picture of what happened.
Sure. So I posted about it on LinkedIn from the standpoint of, first, let's be happy that such a major company in our space, and to be clear, that from a volume standpoint, my calculation is that pretty close to half of all sample volume in the world flows through Dynata. Maybe not quite half at this point, but a huge chunk. I mean, they are a massive node within our network. There was some financial engineering that was done a few years ago. Things don't always work out the way you plan. They were saddled with some significant debt obligations. They entered into a prepackaged bankruptcy. They do have new owners who will also give them new capital for growth. It's a good thing, all told. So the not of course situation like this, if you're an investor, you're getting kind of cents on the dollar.
And unrest if you're staff, unrest, right? So I think that,
yes,
I think everybody will be empathetic and understanding to the people that work there who are feeling the uncertainty of what this means for them.
right.
So I think
Yes, for the most part,
saying that out loud. Yeah.
it should be business as usual.
Yeah.
Overall. Now, will this be used as an opportunity to kind of streamline the business in some ways?
Yeah.
Yes, of
Yeah.
course, that will happen. But that's a transformation that every business in the industry is going through to some extent. It's much more visible for a company with the scale and reach size of Dynata. But that is we are in disruptive transformational times.
Right.
Here's the fundamental thing to bear in mind. The oil or data is the new oil, right? Companies that help facilitate the mining of that oil through individual relationships with consumers, like Dynata, their future will be bright.
Yeah.
So the ingredients are there. They've done what needed to be done to get themselves in a better position. There's ups and downs and good sides and bad sides to that. We can certainly play armchair quarterbacks and think through some of the maybe mistakes that help get them there. That's okay. That's part of the conversation.
It's also, though, to me, there's something very like, I want to watch how they rebuild, because there's something.
Absolutely.
It's like like if you tear something down and then rebuild, you're going to make structural improvements along the way, right?
Absolutely.
Like, I mean, analogies to literally the construction industry, right? We have a pavilion in our town that's on the beach that is having to rebuild like a third time, because when they rebuild it, certain things have gone all awry, which I'm not going to get into. But the point is, this time they're like, we have to start at the foundation and build it the right way. If we're going to be investing in this rebuilding, literal, we have to fix those mistakes that were always there that just kept coming back and causing problems. So they have to tear it all the way down. And I think
sometimes you do.
What's happening here, right, is let's watch to see what they do in the surprise they make, because there are smart people leading this organization, and smart, financiers in the mix now, right, that are not going to let them make financial mistakes moving forward. They're going to be in a much more place of kind of a grounded place.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's a lot of folks had different opinions about this, even the idea on the financial aspects, and that's kind of don't want to get into that, right? There are many lessons to be learned, good and bad. They're fairly public about this. Fine. Extract from this what lesson you think is appropriate. The fundamental truth for the industry, though, is that they went through a rough spot. They're coming out the other side. They're going to be in a good position, and they will continue to be a major player in the evolution of our industry. And that's a good thing. So we can continue the conversation in the thread on LinkedIn too, as Carly's sharing the links to Dynata's specific press release about it. So thank you for sharing that, Carly. I think the other news, like industry related news, is interesting. Lenny and I talk all the time about kind of new product launches, especially those that might be coming at us from other companies that we don't necessarily think about. We're like, oh, that's interesting. So IBM launched a data product hub, data sharing solution aimed to streamline data sharing between internal data producers and consumers. And now I'm sitting here thinking, wait a minute, we just were talking about this with Walmart. We just were talking about this with Coca-Cola. Like, these large companies are getting into a different game, right, by creeping a little bit into what we might have assigned a traditional market research role, but now they're doing some data sharing and some knowledge sharing, and that just should make us all go, what does that mean? Yep. If data is the new oil, you need explorers to find the wells. You need the wells. you need the pipelines, and then you need the refineries, and then you need the manufacturing out of the refined products. That it is
That
exactly.
was very well done, by the way. Like,
Oh, thank
not
you.
rehearsed, friends.
Yeah, it was not rehearsed. I just think it's a great analogy for
Yeah,
the world that we live in. IBM obviously wants to be the pipeline,
yeah,
so they're not the well, but that's how I would equate what they're doing. That's been needed, obviously. Yeah, I mean, I tried a few years ago, Veriglyph, working with IBM, by the way.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah,
I know that they have had an interest in this concept for quite some time.
yeah,
Um, the to connect data in order to create more value around that. So we'll you never get fired for going with IBM, right? Is the old the old saying. There's lots of other players out there that are pursuing different aspects of this. Snowflake's a big company that's has kind of similar concepts. Our industry and companies like Dynata,
yeah,
to go back to that, will play an integral role in that in part of that connective tissue.
yeah,
So, and that will all lead towards the synthesis of unlocking more value through AI and yada yada yada.
yeah,
It's part of the supply chain
yeah,
to
yeah,
do that.
yeah,
So, which is why I use the oil example, right?
yeah, yeah,
So, yeah,
yeah.
good stuff.
Yeah, good stuff. And also, just to hover there for 30 more seconds, not even, just the idea of, everything that's happening during this time of great disruption. I went right to, like, IBM, and my brain started to go to very long-standing values and perceptions of that organization from growing up when IBM was the, powerhouse and stuff. And I just started to think about brand tracking in general, about, who has a reputation, and who has a solid kind of brand image in the world. And I started to think, yeah, that makes sense to me. I have some implicit trust for an organization that I've always perceived as smart and tech forward, right? So it's
Mhm.
interesting to think about how the people that are showing up in this space are those with, huge permission to do so.
Absolutely. And we should point out, all right, because there's also kind of the stodgy perspective, maybe a little
Yes,
bit
yes.
with IBM.
And I'm a
Uh,
Mac girl. I get that. Yeah,
yeah, but Watson,
yeah,
Watson was years ago,
yeah,
right? And arguably, it was the first very visible AI,
yeah,
uh, neural net driven, if I recall correctly, uh, AI. So they've been in this game for a long time,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
They may get kind of forgotten, oh, ChatGPT and all all that, but
yeah,
yeah, you
yeah.
don't count out people like that.
Yeah.
They are smart, and they have been doing this for a long time.
Yeah, yeah, it's super cool. So
Yeah.
before we start to get into all of the AI announcements and things,
Right. Here we
before
go.
we do that, I found, again, when I say I found, it showed up in my news feed. It happened, to get to me somehow or another, in my inbox, this PWC AI jobs barometer.
Yeah.
And, one of the things that we know, Lenny and I know from paying attention to the industry is, and people that talk about chatter at our events and other industry events too, is, but what does this mean for our jobs, right? It's AI is coming for our jobs, and they are still simmering with, what does this mean for our jobs?
Mhm.
Anyway, this PwC report, this jobs barometer, does a really good job showing, across sectors. It's not specific to the insights industry. It's across all, just showing what AI is doing right now to benefit staff,
Mhm.
and the productivity gains and the efficiency gains, and how it's right now the potential to boost just overall economic gains in terms of staffing, and the need, of course, to continue to upskill. And anyway, it's just a really interesting look at jobs. Very positive, very optimistic, and it should relay a lot of fears about what's going on. People might have to remake themselves. They might need to uh, kind of lean in. Where's the horse? But but anyway, it's a pretty positive, optimistic report that I think is worth checking out if you are one of those people that has some career angst.
Yeah, I think that's great. I think I saw a number. I don't know if maybe it's from that report, but it could have been something else. On average, right now, folks are getting about a 38% efficiency gain. Yeah, I'm not sure the measurement of that. I assume it has something to do with time,
Yeah, yeah,
to complete a task. Like, if I had 38% more time, I'd
Yeah.
get a hell of a lot more done.
Yeah.
So it's not, so that maybe that's the right way to frame that, right? It's
Yeah. And I think that if we look at the idea that how mm, how overworked people often are in our industry, how many hours they tend to work, you and I not excluded from that. Like if we can be more efficient so that we actually gain back some of our humanity and some of our ability to think critically. Like I have noticed a shift in my ability to think since I'm relying on generative AI tools to help me with things that really are mindless actions, but I have to take them.
Yep.
I can think more clearly because I have some bandwidth. So I think that's probably what this report is alluding to is the more tasks we can give it to free up our brain to be brilliant or however we want to think about it, that to me is only a gain for people.
Yep.
But they have to be able to master everyday usage in certain situations. It does also talk about, fields where, AI is not really, not really there right now. Healthcare fields in particular, things like that.
Sure.
Yoga instructors, for instance, AI is not going to be doing that anytime soon. So it does kind of
any
talk
type
about
of construction or
Yeah.
any of those things. Yes.
Yeah. Anyway,
if you're really worried about the impact of AI, then probably become a plumber or electrician or
yeah,
I mean, and
definitely electrician. Keep
yes,
electrical.
I am waiting on a HVAC repairman to show up right now. Yes, and those skills in
Yeah.
demand, wonderful stuff. All right,
Yeah.
let's.
Yeah. I mean,
You
yeah.
said you downloaded the
Oh,
ChatGPT
yeah.
app
So if you
on your
haven't done this
desktop.
yet, if you are a ChatGPT web browser user and you are, a subscriber, you now have the option to download the app. So it becomes on your, on your desktop, and you can just do Alt space bar and it pulls up a bar. Like it is now seamlessly integrated into my desktop for my workday. I can upload a file right. I mean, I don't even have to go to the browser. So it just streamlined a step for me in my usage, ChatGPT specifically. So anyway, so that's helpful for people who are not in the Microsoft ecosystem, which we are not. I think you are. So anyway, so just, if you're given the option, play around with it because it's interesting.
And get ready. You download that because the buzz. The best estimate I saw was that probably by this time next year, although I suspect it's going to be sooner than that, GPT-5. And we've talked about that, the buzz the last few weeks, that, that it may not fully be AGI, but it's pretty darn close. And that the analysis was really a really compelling, interesting analysis on this link, Carly. I think this is from Every. On this leap is every couple months,
right?
Primarily because of building the computing power.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's the implementation for the computing power and how that goes, and that goes to the next piece of Microsoft and Copilot, where they are the Copilot AI agents to act like virtual employees, automating tasks, enhancing productivity in the workplace within the Microsoft the Office. Sorry,
Sweet.
The Windows operating system, as well as within Office and other Microsoft applications, being fully integrated and increasingly leveraging what they call edge computing, which is local hardware computing, not just cloud computing. So, and I actually want to go on that for a minute, because I had a good debate with a friend earlier this week on kind of trying to find the analogy for this disruption. It's like, oh, is it the steam engine or the radio? Or it's like, no, because you had to go buy something new. For that. The disruption here is that it is based off of existing ubiquitous, almost census level penetration of existing technology, and upgrading capabilities based on that. Now there will be new hardware coming that we'll all leverage to do those things, but that is the revolutionary disruptive element of this. You don't have to go do something new.
It all comes
It's
right to you.
it's just baked in. It's
Yeah,
just baked in. So then it becomes an issue of adoption. Now
yeah,
that's a different conversation.
yeah,
So, but not capability penetration, right? It
yeah,
took years to get 5G, or mobile, or whatever, right? That those took a long time to penetrate
yeah,
into the population. That's not where we are now. It's only an adoption question. It is
yeah,
not a
yeah,
penetration question.
yeah, yeah.
Yep.
Super
All
interesting.
right.
Super interesting times. Anyway, so yeah, we'll keep watching that 5.0 release because we're personally also very curious about it, and yeah, we'll be paying attention. We will let you know, as you I'm sure have realized by now. Lenny and I are tracking this.
Closely. You
Will
guys
not
should
miss
really
you.
you should see the Slack channel we use all throughout the week of just sharing. And you think that we get long-winded going through a lot in 30 minutes? Yeah, guys, we leave a lot on
Yeah,
the table.
friends, 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 friends. Yeah,
But
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. But let's talk about some of these partnerships because this
Yep.
one, the we're shifting into partnerships, friends.
Yep.
Next Intelligence. Speaking of partner, they've been a partner of ours. They've
And the inside space. Yep.
in the insight space, they've been partners at events. We have somebody on the as a future list honoree this year. Mover and shaker in the industry right now. They've partnered with Microsoft Azure
Yep.
for enhanced OpenAI access, focusing on conversational AI applications. So first kind of announcement that I've really seen about an insights organization, that I've seen in our, ecosystem, partnering with OpenAI. So I think that's noteworthy. Pay attention to that one.
Yep. Officially, and there'll be more of that.
There'll be more.
And should again point out to there's this big battle, Google, Meta, Amazon.
Yeah.
It's like IBM. Don't bet against Microsoft, right?
Yeah.
They are simply they are embedded in so many aspects of the business life for companies to make that decision to go ahead and partner with them because they're built into the infrastructure of the business.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that's the right answer for everybody, but
Yeah.
certainly I think that we'll see more companies going down that route because it just makes sense.
Yeah.
In terms of seamless integration with existing business processes.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So hats off to our friends at Next Intelligence and Inca for that.
Yeah. Yeah. So now the Reddit partnership, this one's also really interesting because so another partnership that was kind of announced in this past couple days is OpenAI partnering with Reddit to integrate user-generated content into ChatGPT. Now, this has lent itself to all sorts of issues in general because these online communities are great for opinion, not necessarily fact. So we have to really watch this and see how it influences the learning of these LLMs. But certainly the people in charge know that risk. They're not, we might be saying, but it's not that this is a risk they haven't thought about, and they probably have planning in place for it. If they have announced this partnership, then they are well aware of the things that people would want to know. Well, hold up a minute. How are we safeguarding what's put out there that's factual versus opinion? Because Reddit is an interesting place by design for anybody to be able to say anything.
It is. Well, and it's, there's some background here so there's that issue, but then there's also Reddit was one of the first companies when this AI started to come out to put a moat around their content. So nope, you don't get access to our platform without paying for it. Right. So just like the trend we're seeing around publishers. So, but that also brings up another interesting question, which I think is one near and dear to my heart. Who owns the data? Is it Reddit or is it the users? So I encourage any platform that has consumers engaged that you share with them, because without them, Reddit, you won't have anything to sell to OpenAI. I understand your business model is probably not based on that, but I would encourage everyone to start thinking that way. The example I've always used is if Facebook had given shares to every one of their members when they went public, then that would have, and continued to, for user growth, give a share in the company, so that profit sharing, what a different world we'd be in. And at some point, there's going to be GDPR gets close to that. At some point, there's going to be some type of legislation. Andrew Yang talked about it in 2020, right?
Yeah.
That is going to force the platforms to share the wealth of the oil they are
Well, the
extracting.
thing that's so interesting about Reddit in that regard is the anonymity, right? It's like you're not, I mean, some people do join using their, actual names, but other people are like, I like the fact that you don't have to disclose who you are if you don't want to. You can just be, some random I can't even think of a word without sounding ridiculous right now, because some of the names in Reddit are just so whimsical and bizarre because they suggest one for you. They're like, hey, why don't you be making one up, like typewriter unicorn. Okay, I'll be typewriter unicorn, like whatever. Like they just throw random names at you. So I think that's why people have this inherent safety, and that's again by design with Reddit. So it's interesting how they would. Anyway, I don't know how they're going to wrangle all that they have to wrangle, but
right, the balance there, yeah, and it's just interesting world. Biggest key takeaway of that is data is the new oil. It has value. People, OpenAI is paying for access to
and
that.
there are deals happening, right?
There are deals happening. Yeah.
So some might say, don't we have anything else to talk about, Lenny? Some might say, aren't we tired of talking about AI? Aren't there other issues? I don't know. Some people like Crispin Beal maybe might be saying, don't we have other things to talk about?
Yeah.
Let's share this article from Crispin. He shared it with the Insights Association, an article talking with a bunch of industry leaders, kind of saying, hey, what else is on your mind, friends? And it covers things like data quality. It covers things like, the need to hire properly and focus on talent, storytelling, lots of other methods, predictive analytics. So if you want a refreshing break from all of the AI information you have to take in, check out this article. Thanks, Crispin, for doing some of that work, because yes. We do want to talk about other things too.
Well, so let's use that as a segue and a plug. So Carly, you've got that grit graphic. Let's bring it up, because there you go. The 2024 Grit Insights Practice Report should be published on Tuesday. That's the current plan. I think we're all in good shape for that. And we talk about more than just AI. So and most importantly, we talk about all of these things contextually, consistently throughout the report. So the level of synthesis and dot connecting and and trying to really show where all these pieces fit together in terms of the fundamentals of how we do our jobs, right? Kind of the daily lives of researchers, the tools that we use, et cetera, et cetera. I am incredibly proud of this report. I think it is the best one that we have ever done. It's big. But it's not big just because it's big. It's big because there's just an amazing story to tell from multiple dynamic points of view, and that's represented here. And it should be available on Tuesday.
And I just want to say, I shared a little bit of the executive summary. We of course had our Grit forum, but I shared a little bit of the executive summary at North America at our IIX North America event. I'll do the same thing in Europe. But one of the things that I've thought a lot about that's captured in that executive summary is our companies. It's sort of like an esoteric question of, are companies spending the right amount of time working on the business versus in the business and doing their jobs versus thinking strategically. And it shows a breakdown of who's doing more of working on the business these days instead of just in the business. And I encourage the people listening to really think about that, because I believe that the people that are tuning into you and I each week are those people who are thinking about their business and thinking about where they need to go, not just their jobs, but their companies. And anyway, take a look at that in particular. That's one of my favorite things to
Absolutely. Yep. If you were a participant, you'll get a link in an email. But if you were not, then we encourage you to go and download it. Again, sometime Tuesday should be available. And I'm sure we will talk more about it, have other things to talk about from there. And then I guess finally,
Europe. We got to get to Europe.
You did, and I love that you brought up
So do you see?
I did. That was great. Like my little geek.
I did that for you, Lenny. Okay, friends. So first of all, I have to give you context before I tell you what Lenny just said. So IIX Europe coming up in a couple weeks. Super excited. Heineken, you see on the middle of this on this ad that Carly has shared. Heineken's always on stage, right? It's an Amsterdam based headquarters. And if you haven't toured the Heineken facility when you're there, you just have to, because everybody in the Lynch family has Heineken bottles with their names on them. It's a super fun thing to do. But anyway, they're always on stage and they're always bringing thought leadership. So in the spirit of, yes, please join us at Europe. There's a code, Exchange 30, get you a 30% discount on tickets. We hope to see you there, but also knowing that Lenny is looking forward to this summer's release of Deadpool and Wolverine, which I'm a Deadpool fan. I don't know anything about Wolverine because I'm not really in that universe, but I just really like
you don't know anything about Wolverine? You haven't watched the X-Men movies?
No, but those of you who know me know I really do like Ryan Reynolds a lot. Like, his sense of humor just gets me every time. So anyway, so in the spirit of that, we shall share with you a link to the new Heineken Silver ad campaign, because it's just plain fun, featuring Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman, who's playing Wolverine. So that intrigued me quite a bit. I will tell you that also.
Oh, he has always played Wolverine. Do you know,
I didn't know this.
He has the record. Hugh Jackman has a record of the only actor to play the same character the most ever. So I think this is something like maybe his 20th appearance as Wolverine. Since 2000, since the first X-Men movie. He has always been Wolverine. He retired as Wolverine. Ryan Reynolds pulled him back to play another variation of the character Wolverine in this movie. He did it for Ryan Reynolds, and I'm sure a buttload of money.
I'm sure. So this weekend, watch the ad, buy yourself some Heineken, raise a glass to these fine actors, and we will most likely talk about this again, but saluting to you, Lenny, who has me paying attention to this just because.
We should probably put a PSA out, though, that this, the Deadpool movies are rated R. And this is also, even though Disney owns the property now, that was Fox, and there's a whole other convoluted story about that. This is a rated R movie. The language, mostly the language, I think.
Probably.
The
cautionary tale to our listeners who are, not of age.
Right. What are your kids like? Oh, that looks like fun. I am not. My 13-year-old son would love it, and I would hate that he would love it. So I'm not taking him to see it, right? Because I don't want him to think, oh, I can just talk like this all the time. But anyway, it'll be a lot of fun.
Anyway, leaving you that with fun for the weekend, friends, because sometimes you just want to watch a fun commercial.
Absolutely. And I'm sure will be just a fun time with the movies when it hits. So, all right, I guess that's it.
That's it. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a really good weekend. No matter if you're, here in the US or if you're overseas, have a great weekend.
Absolutely. So enjoy, Karen. You enjoy. Everybody take care. We'll talk next week.
Bye.